Hi, my name is Yewande, and today I want to talk about how to find the right community for you as an immigrant. In one of my videos, I spoke about one of the ways to battle homesickness when you're an immigrant is to find communities. So I want to kind of like really dig deep into that point about how to find a community, because it's one thing to have a community and it's another thing to have a community that really works for you and works for your needs. And then I will share some of the things that have worked for me. When I moved to Germany over 4 years ago, the first 1 year I spent it not having a lot of friends and not having a community, and I was so sad. I remember having so much anxiety, imposter syndrome, and so much depression in my first year, and then I really went back home. I re-strategized, and in my second year in Germany I decided to try some tips which so far have worked for me. So I think the first thing that worked for me was living in the right city. So I know this is very vague, but if we're being honest, there are some cities you would live in, depending on where you are in the world, that you might not just find a community that works for you. I really think that there's some places that are not for us, right? You need to be in the place that is for you, and this is something you just know with your gut feeling. I'm not sure there's a scientific method to finding out if a place works for you or not. I think if you are not connected to the place, or if you don't feel like you're in the right space, it'll be hard for you to attract the opportunities and attract the people that you need to thrive in that place. You need to live in the city that is right for you, and this is something that you feel internally. So that's the first. Now you found a city, this city works for you. Oh my god, social media is the best place to find communities when you're in a new country. Facebook works for me. I'm a millennial. I'm on Facebook, not posting, but I'm on Facebook groups and Facebook events are amazing to find communities. So how do you find communities? So first of all, when you're on Facebook, on social media in general, is to find events. So if you can find events, so you can go on Eventbrite, on meetup.com, you can find events, and then you can look at who's organizing those events. When you go for the events, even if you can't go, if you can connect with the organizers, they probably have a community of people, even if it's just organizers or volunteers, and that's one way to find a community. So if you can't find a community by just Googling the name, most of the time, if you are Nigerian, Ghanaian, French, just look for your country, community in your city. That's a very good keyword to search on Google. Well, a good tip is don't always look for communities of your country in a new country. So what do I mean? I'm a Nigerian and I live in Germany. Sometimes the community that work for me is not a community of Nigerians in Germany. It could be the community of product managers or tech people. I'm not product manager in my city. So you need to look for your characteristics in that way. So what are you? I'm Nigerian. What do you do? What's your purpose? What are your interests? So if you can list a couple of these things down. So if you search for Nigerians in your city or your country in your city, if you don't find that, you can look for other people with common interests or common similarities with you. So if you like to knit, for example, you can find a community of knitters. Or if you like to play drums, you can find a community of people that play drums, or an event for people that play drums. Utilize those tips to your advantage, right, in finding a community. Another way I found a community here was by going to church. There's a church in almost every city in the world, or mosque, or if you're religious, whatever religion you practice, if you can just Google the closest church, temple, mosque to you and you go there, that's a very easy way or very easy trick to find a community. Find not all churches or not all religious places. I've been to some churches and I'm like, oh, I don't really connect to your values on here. So you might need to try a couple of places, and it applies to all communities. You try and then you find out if you guys have similar interests and similar goals. Look for like religious organizations, churches close to you. That's another place to find good communities. Another place to find communities are when you volunteer for events or volunteer to just do something. You would always meet people where people are volunteering or people are giving back to the society. So there are communities like Red Cross. Just, you can start with the big communities. There's some organizations always looking for volunteers. So try to find organizations looking for volunteers around you. When you volunteer, then you get to meet with the people that you volunteer with, and you can either build a community or join an existing community that exists from there. Another place to find a community is through sports and hobbies. So if you like to play football, tennis, you like to swim, if you do have some common hobbies or some hobbies, you can use this opportunity to build a community or to find an existing community. I know football is very big around the world. If you're in a country that doesn't have football or soccer, you can look for the prevalent sports in there: cricket, basketball, tennis, depending on what's popular in there. If you do play sports, you can find a place to yeah, you can build a community from there or find your own community from there. Another place where some people build communities is via work. So if you work in a company that has community groups or employee engagement groups, you can either volunteer to create something, or you can join what's already existing, or you can just make friends with your colleagues at work. It hasn't worked so well for me, but has worked for some people. So yeah, you can build a community from your workplace. If you like where you work, like what you do, it doesn't have to be around work. You can have an interest, maybe you have kids. So yeah, finding community around children is also something that really helps parents. Finding community around kids, that's helpful. If you like to work out, to go into the gym, try to go to a gym where they do things in a community. So they do group activities. So some gyms offer like Pilates, yoga, where everyone has to do it together. So you're not just working out on the machines independently. So you can use that to meet people and then find a community. So these are places where you can meet people and build a community. But there are some attitudes you need to have to build a community or to meet people. So number one, in order to find friends, you need to be friendly. So you can't be stuck up. When people say hi to you, you don't respond. Sometimes you need to be the one saying hi to people. You need to be deliberate about it. This is something you want, something you need to speak out. You need to ask questions. You need to introduce yourself to people. You need to walk up to people and start a conversation. Hi, how you doing? People, it's a very good way to start a conversation. In some countries, about the weather, right? There's so many things. You can even have prompts to kind of like teach you how to start a conversation around. Different countries have different common themes. So like in Nigeria, you can always start up a conversation with someone about politics, get people talking. In the UK, it could be about the weather. They love to talk about the weather on there. In Germany, people like to talk about travel, where they have been to. So if you have experiences, travel, or books you're reading, these are things that you can start conversations about. Another thing people really like is compliments. Compliment people. Tell them their shoes are nice, their makeup is nice, their hair, or you like it, or the color of their outfits. Yes, something. There's always something you can compliment about people. Another thing you need to do with the attitude, you might need to volunteer to join in things. So you see people playing football, you can ask, can I join you? For this, be ready to get some no's. I don't deal with rejection, so I don't do this personally. But yeah, this is something you might need to do. I think another attitude you need to have is, if you have biases or you have stereotypes about people, please keep it to yourself, or try to rid yourself of those stereotypes. Try to make sure the conversation is neutral until you really understand the culture. You really don't know what triggers people, what they have been through, their experiences. You might be very religious and you think someone is indecently dressed. A couple of these things. When you're in a new place, you need to understand the culture there. And even when you understand the culture, sometimes you really need to keep your opinions to yourself, because you really don't know people's experiences and you can't judge them through your own lens. So that's really helpful, so you don't get into fights, or you don't get to a point where you lose the relationships you build. Another thing is around learning groups. So for example, I'm living in Germany and then I'm trying to learn the language unsuccessfully. Yeah, a community around your learning groups. If you have a course you're doing, online courses, in-person courses, language courses, you could also build a community of people around there. Like I said, you need to be polite, you need to walk up to people, you need to respect other people's opinions. Don't think your opinion is the most superior. You need to listen to people. So like compliments, people also like to talk about themselves as soon as they open up. So ask them questions, ask people questions. If they want to talk, they will tell you, and that's a great way to start to converse with people. Another thing is, this process might take time, or it will take time, so you need to be patient. And in the meantime, find things that would occupy you. Don't be desperate for friends. It's desperate. Your energy, it shows, it comes across. So don't be desperate. You need to be patient with it, and you need to be patient with the process. So while you're doing it, still build yourself or build your confidence. I hope this is helpful for you, and I hope you find the right and the best community that helps in your soul, that helps in your growth, and that will just make your stay in your new country or in your new home amazing. All right, have a great rest of the day. Bye.